I know. The fact that we've done a top 25 since the last show is bizarre. But oh my god, is that Brian Paul from Perp Games VR Showcase? Oh, okay, can they hear me though? I don't know. Oh yeah, cool. I can't believe. I remember this last time, and you said some really. And I can't believe you say even worse stuff about him this time. Outrageous, Brian. Go on, tell him what you really think, Brian. Yeah. My goodness. How's everyone doing? How are the game cats doing?
I'll tell them what I really think.
Yeah.
Oh no, they can hear me now. Forget it.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad you stopped yourself because that would have been embarrassing.
Good. There are certain things I've learned to check. And before show starts. Yeah, like good. Like whether a trailer is playing at full blast, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've learned the hard way. Yeah.
Well, that's a great start to the show. Let's go, Brian.
I'm down. Let's do it. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single fucking lying, you know it. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live, 6 p.m. Eastern on Without Parole for your viewing pleasure. For those of you, however, who like to watch with your ears, our good friend Jamie uploads this on podcast services of your choice. If you think we talk too much, we get it. It's all right. Our good friend Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry puts timestamps into the sucker a few hours after the show airs. So you can come back and watch it at your leisure and only watch the parts you care about. My name's Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole, and this gentleman over here to my right. I guess technically the way you're looking at it, it is my left and your right. So we should probably bring that back. It's Myles Dyer from youtube.com/Myles. How's it going, Myles?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Game Cats. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Yeah, as we were going to be talking about in the intro, it does feel like an eternity since the last Friday show because we did the top 25 on Sunday. We've had the Perp Game Showcase today on IGN. Once again, Brian has done something on IGN. I just think that's amazing.
I don't know what that is. What is this IGN you speak of?
It's a type of like YouTube channel that covers gaming. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I think they do like maybe a few more videos than you've done. Yeah.
What you couldn't see over there on your screen was that when I switched to full screen Myles, there was also like stretched to a weird proportion full screen Brian from the Perp Showcase right next to you. And I just had to change the video because it was freaking me the fuck out.
Oh man.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out and tuning in on this special Friday episode of GamesCast Live. If you're not already a subscriber to Myles over on his channel, he does an insane number of PSVR2 live streams each and every single week. You've been doing 6 a week or 6 a weekend for the last couple of weeks, right? Is that true?
I think I've done it for 2 weekends. Last weekend I only did 3 because we were doing the top 25 and I felt I needed a bit of a social life. So actually last Friday I did, after this show, I did Synapse. And a couple of you out there won some key codes for it. But it was fun, but it was I was just very tired at that point and made stupid mistakes and stuff like that. But it is what it is. But yeah, back to 6 games.
Mistakes.
That's true. That is true. Stupid mistakes are always fun. But yeah, this weekend, another 6 games. And they are from tomorrow. I'm going to be playing B99 Overclocked.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Huh?
I'm sorry to hear that. Have you checked it out yet?
A little bit.
Yeah. There's some game-breaking bugs in that game. B99 seems like will be fun once he's got all the issues sorted out. But I've been in contact with him. I've sent him video clips. I've become a beta tester, which is my least favorite thing to be, Myles. And I just don't recommend anyone playing B99 yet. Seems like it's going to be fun eventually. But right now, just like hold off. It's the what seems like a relatively simple game. There are things that are just fundamentally broken about it from a technical standpoint.
Right. The only thing I have noticed, I've played like a bit of the tutorial, and it was the turn speed is very slow and sluggish. I like to be able to turn very, very fast. So yeah, but well, if you want to see me beta test this. Tune in tomorrow for that. Then I'm going to be playing is it called Dyschronia or Dyschronia?
It is. You're gonna live stream Dyschronia?
Yeah. I love that there's 2 games now. These are just the first 2 of 6. By the time I get to the 6th one, Brian is like, don't do any of this. This is such a bad idea.
I'm just going to shut down your channels, Myles. This is not working out well. It's so story heavy. It's basically a visual novel and so you're just going to be reading a lot. And so for me, it might be something fun for you to play in your own time, but to stream, I mean, I might tune in just to see how you handle it, honestly.
Okay, well, this should be interesting. Well, if any
Everybody
of you want
tune in to see how Myles handles it.
Yeah, that should be what it's called. Not Let's Play. How does Myles handle it? Well, yeah, if any of you like a bedtime story, then tune in. You can just listen to it in my droning voice. Okay, well, how's this for game number 3, Brian? So this is going to end Saturday. So we're building up on Saturday night. We're going to end with The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 1. Oh, there we go.
Fantastic choice. How could you possibly go wrong with that?
I know. Yeah. Obviously, I do want to play Chapter 2, but I just feel if I'm going to be playing every VR game, it makes sense to jump back to Chapter 1, especially in the PSVR2 era, for those that are curious about it. So it's probably going to be the 500th time I've played the intro of the game. So it should be fun. And then racing along here on Sunday, the 3 games I'm going to be playing. Firstly, Operation Wolf Returns, First Mission VR. I've seen your review, and I'm still curious to play it.
Perfect for a live stream. I think that game is perfect for a live stream. It's initially fun. You get in there and you and I know you haven't played it yet, so I don't want to tell you what to think about it. But it is. I think it's very satisfying right up front, right? And I think that satisfaction wears off the longer you play it. But it is there, right? And if it was a $15 game, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, man. Fucking blow the $15, have a good time with it.
I took your advice when I live streamed Hubris to play on the hardest difficulty. Yeah. I did that from the get-go. You from your review, I assume that you'd also recommend that for this, or do you feel that, because you said it was still pretty easy on hard mode, do you think that's just because by that point you had enough practice, or do you think it will?
There might have been a little bit that if anybody was paying attention when I uploaded the video of Operation Wolf, I think I'd been playing. I was trying to cover too many games at once, and somehow I got one game confused with another and said, "Oh, there's no difficulty options." And so every time I played Operation Wolf, I said, "Well, there's no difficulty options. It sucks because it's too easy." And then when I published the review, more than one person said, "There are difficulty settings," and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I just took the video down, went back in, played through the last 3 missions on the hardest difficulty, and I'll tell you, man, it's a little more frantic. You're reloading faster, and you have to kind of dart your eyes back and forth a little bit more in order to keep up with what's going on around you and make sure you're not missing any enemies, because it's so easy just to not see an enemy's up in some crow's nest, right? Who's shooting down at you. It's so easy to miss that. And so it's easier than ever to miss that on hard. However, once you've played through the whole game and you sort of have the rhythm down, and you know how to once you know how to switch weapons and reload fast and the whole thing, I think hard is only mildly more difficult.
Okay.
I'd be curious though. I would say that if your first time through, fucking give it a shot, man. At least try a level or 2 on the hardest mode, and then if it is too difficult, slide it back down. But I mean, that would be the way I'd recommend most people play it. Yeah,
because you don't unlock anything in the game. The guns you get are what you pick up as you go along. So it's not as if you build up anything that would make hard mode easier. Like in Transformers was the one I was thinking about, where hard mode is just something that you would do once you've played it on the easier modes and you've built up your arsenal to be able to take down enemies.
Which I think is a flaw in the game design. I know people are sick of hearing me talk about progression systems. I know people are sick about talking.
No, dude, I'm with you on it.
Yeah, but I mean, and I think people are also sick of being hearing me use the word roguelike, right? This comes up far too often. Roguelike games, progression systems, the whole thing. But go back to something like Time Crisis 2 when it came out on PlayStation 2 with the Gun Con 2, the light gun. They added so much to the progression system where it's it was almost one of the early roguelikes, right? Where you go in, you get your ass kicked within the first 5 minutes, but then they say, hey, don't worry, because you made it this far and your XP bar has gone up this high, we're going to give you an extra life, right? And then they give you a couple extra lives, and then they give you, a better weapon to get earlier in the game. They do things in Time Crisis 2 and Time Crisis 3, the PS2 versions, that made it, we brought this home from the arcade, and we're giving you a fuller, longer experience. Yes. And for some reason, for a game that was never in the arcade, Operation Wolf returns First Mission VR, which is, let's be honest, a contender for the longest fucking VR title, right next to The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 fucking Retribution. Unnecessary. Yeah. Right? How about Operation Wolf Returns VR?
Dude, trying to put that thumbnail together. I mean, I think you did cut out the first
all of
Mission
it.
VR.
I cut out everything but Operation Wolf.
Yeah. Right. Which makes me think I need to re-edit my thumbnail. But anyway, Brian, the last two I'm doing on Sunday quickly, Pistol Whip and Song in the Smoke Rekindled, 2 games that we know are great. So every weekend I do try and keep it mixed, play some smaller games, even story time games. Although Dyschronia I am doing because Chapter 3 has just come out. Obviously, I'm not going to be playing that, but it just felt like a good timing-wise. But and the other thing I will say is there will be game keys given out during some of these streams. Some of the devs are going to drop by. Nice. Bless the Song in the Smoke devs was saying that I'm going to be doing it, even though it's like 9 p.m. my time. It's going to be 5 in the morning their time.
Because they're in
Sometimes
Japan,
you just forget where they are, and they're saying, "So I'll see if I can get up for then." I was like, on a Monday. I'm like, don't. Stay in bed. Don't. It's not worth doing. But so yeah, if any of these games, you never know. But when the devs do turn up, it's always a good conversation because they're always happy just to answer questions, and it's always a good time. So
man, Song in the Smoke devs, what a fucking class act over there. Jake Kasdal and his team, just industry legends, right? But on top of that, just so appreciative of their game getting coverage, and just I don't know, they're just great guys. They're the kind of people that if I go to Japan, I'm looking them up and being like, can we go out for sushi? Can we hang out, please?
Yeah. I have to say, having done these Let's Plays and just having conversations with devs, giving them the heads up about it, I've just really got a much deeper appreciation for the community, and also just connecting and just okay, I'm sure there are going to be exceptions. Maybe I've been fortunate enough not to hit those roadblocks yet, but everyone I've spoken to has been an absolute joy to speak to. And it's just really interesting hearing about, people's stories behind it. I mean, one game I've been playing quite a lot lately, on my downtime from very, busy work life and stuff like that, I'm still playing Across the Valley. I keep diving back into that game. It's just such a chilled game. And speaking with the devs about that.
How many hours do you think you've got in?
Dude, it's really hard to tell. I know I'm on day 35 in it, but dude, I was thinking about this a lot earlier today, and I was like, I have no idea how long I've spent, because the days do get long, but you do get a lot faster at doing the tasks.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, learning to milk cows 100% in that task is near impossible.
Those adaptive triggers, though, is that not the weirdest sensation you've ever had with an adaptive trigger?
When you were explaining it to me, going, it feels, I guess it feels like you're milking a cow. It's it's just and the sound effects. The sheep shearing mini game is good fun. I literally just 100%ed that today, because normally you shear off all the wool and then there's just one piece left. And I kept always accidentally clipping the sheep's tail, and the sheep's never happy.
Here's the funny thing. An IRL story to go along with your VR story. At some point, Tornado, my cat, if anybody doesn't know, must have rolled around in something and it has had something clumped into her fur for a month and a half now, right in the back. And so I kept trying to comb it out of her, but it was obviously pulling very hard. And so finally I pulled out scissors and I was like, I'm cutting this out of you. And all I could think of was the Across the Valley mini game. And I was like, I'm so scared to accidentally cut Tornado. And it was the same feeling I had with a cartoon sheep. I was like, oh, please don't hurt the sheep. I don't want to hurt. Yeah. Dumb story.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's funny, man. And I guess the other thing it's taught me Across the Valley is that when farmers have to milk cows, if they have 3 cows, they only have to milk 1, and then it's times by the number of cows they have. I didn't know that.
Yep.
So I always thought they had to milk all
than
the
they've let
cows
on all these years.
I know.
So
But
true.
like you said in your review, it's a game that I dive into here and there because, yeah, as it scales up, you've just got so much more stuff to do and to manage. And it's the thing I've having played a lot of these games now in the PSVR2 thing. You know, you're talking about like always talking about progression systems and roguelites. Yeah. I think this is a great conversation perhaps for another time, which is like, what are the themes that we're seeing that we want to see in games? And for me, it's like the end game content, because I was actually thinking about this yesterday when showing my friend Synapse. And to be honest, I think if Synapse had end game content and like modifiers and like time attack mode and just the core of what the game is phenomenal. I think if there was more content, remixing, and let's say even more levels, I think it would be a top 3 contender for PSVR2. I genuinely think that, and I hate saying that because it's, you know, it'd be very frustrating. I'm sure it's frustrating for Endreams to know that, but it's like the core of what they've developed is so polished and so good, and I think it speaks to just the era that we are with gaming, which these games are very expensive to produce. The cost benefit of having more content might not be worth the investment. You know what I mean? Like, you just need to get it out the door. Yeah, that's just my feeling about it, which is I was just thinking explicitly about Synapse, that if it had more of that content, I think it would have actually been a top 3 game.
This is the conversation that we've been having about Endreams for years. I feel like now, if Fract had been a full length adventure, not a 2.5 hour, what felt like an amazing demo, then that would have been a top 5 contender, like all day, every day for PSVR1. I don't know if you saw in the chat, Nathan is saying that for him, Synapse as is a top 5 game on PSVR2. Wow, and that's what I love hearing, man, because like, you know, sometimes you get so bogged down in what a game is missing that it's hard to like say, oh, it's hard to remember this is what the game actually does provide. And the game provides something that's extremely satisfying. It's a game that I think has problems, but that every single PSVR2 owner should buy and should play. So, and even if that means you wait for a sale to kind of justify, you know, the content versus price ratio, I say do it. Whether you wait or buy it now, do it.
Yeah, and I think the reason that we are guilty perhaps of having too high expectations or being too critical of what we don't have and not judging on what we do is just the very nature of what we do as our roles here. You know, we are game critics and we've got to, you know, talk about potential, and we're in a industry that is constantly pushing forward. And actually, to Endreams' credits, and this is also with other devs as well, they very openly said to us that they really appreciate our feedback and response. They don't want to just hear, you know, what do you think of the game? Yeah, we had a great time, and that's the end of the conversation. They want to hear what did we like about it, what we didn't, because that's the only way these games are going to get better. And games as a whole are going to get better in the industry. And I think the fact that we're at the very start of PSVR2 and these are the games we're getting already, where we're going to be in a couple of years' time is just going to be phenomenal.
Before I say this, I want to say that I do love Jimmy Bowers over Endreams, and I do love, you know, a lot of different developers. I just talked very highly of Jake Kasdal and the 17-bit team. But I also think the job of community managers and developers is to gaslight the fuck out of YouTubers and content creators to say, we value your opinion so much. Thank you for your constructive feedback. We're going to listen to everything you said and make our next game even better. It's, I mean, as much as I appreciate them being nice and saying that, they've played this game internally. They've tested it internally. They know what the feedback's going to be, right? No one's surprised when a review comes out and says, oh, it was a little too easy or this or that or whatever. Like, so yes, 100% I agree with you, but also don't be fooled, Myles. Don't be taken for a ride.
No, I'm not fooled, and I agree with that. But the counterpoint I would make to it as well is, and I say this as someone who works in marketing, completely different industry, is sometimes, you know, people have to make the case internally, and they can't just make the case by themselves going, yeah, we know that these games have been kind of short. They literally need case studies. They need to literally say, PSVR without Parole, you know, have given us, you know, amazing reviews and stuff, but they keep saying this, and they can literally like then put it and say, you got to take this seriously, because otherwise you just sell games and go, how many games did we sell? Did we sell more than Fract? Great, it's a better game. Move on. you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, I take those points completely.
All right, man. We got to tackle a couple of tips here, and actually a couple more just rolled in. So let's tackle this. Jim Perona, JP, before the show even starts with a $2 tip, says Vertigo 2 instant Game of the Year contender. Hype. Yeah, we'll be talking about Vertigo 2 in just a minute. Obviously, the big news of the day. I slept through. I had such a late night last night, and such a stressful night last night, and it's been without getting into details, it's been a week from hell. And it all finally took its toll. And so I didn't set my alarm last night. When I woke up this morning, I didn't even know if it was morning or the middle of the night. There were thunderstorms last night, but it was like kind of a pleasant, relaxing, rolling thunder this morning. And it just like my window was partly open, the rain was coming down, and it just kind of let me drift right back to sleep. And when I woke up, it was 2:30 in the afternoon, and I was like, oh no, I literally missed both airings of the Perp Showcase that I hosted. So my apologies. Usually I like to be there and watch it with you guys and watch your responses. But I'm so honored that Perp wants me to do this shit. And as somebody said, now you have to review these games, Brian, and be honest about them. And I was like, that's, as you know, not a problem. I've shit on so many games that Perp has published. But completely different story over there.
Well, you did a great job, and the live chat in IGN, which I was a part of, was really great, really positive.
Nice.
And it was interesting that I noticed some of the questions coming in the chat from people going, "Oh, is this just PSVR2?" Literally, as Wanderer is on screen with it's coming out on Pico and Meta and all these ones, you know. But it's kind of a nice problem to have that it's the other way around now. That I don't think I've ever heard a complaint that, oh, it's just PSVR2 VR. Like, when has that ever been a thing? So it's been great. And also starting off with like 3 horror game announcements to talk about. I thought, yeah, this is definitely your showcase to present.
Hell yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's like they kind of don't keep me in the loop over there. So when the script shows up, I'm like, it's kind of all a surprise. I'm like, oh, cool. And things change too. Like we've had reshoots, and man, we're going to talk more about the Perp Game Showcase in just a minute here. So I don't want to quite talk about all my impressions of it. Despite being the host, I think that there are certainly improvements that could have been made, maybe including a different host. Looper, the Underground Game Cat with the €5 says, even at a third of its length, Vertigo 2 could be considered a full-fledged VR game. I looked it up on hltb.com, howlongtobeat.com, and people are clocking it at 10 hours to beat the campaign. Vertigo 2, made by one guy. It's pretty good stuff there. The Game Cat Mustang 750R with the $1 donation. He sent a poop emoji. We love you too. Joey VR with the level 1 membership says Perp Game Showcase was absolute fire. Thank you very much, Joey. Darth Vader, the Game Cat with the $10 tip, says, ever since Vertigo 2 launched on PC, I've wanted it to come to PlayStation, and now it is. The game looks absolutely insane with a custom level editor and replay as different characters. Super hyped. I think that's this one person dev team is delivering in all sorts of ways that like bigger studios don't seem to be delivering on, right? The amount of replayability, the amount of content, the length of the campaign. So very hard to find fault in that. Do I have a Vertigo trailer I could be playing right now?
Maybe.
There seems to be one here. Yeah, a lot of praise for this game over the years. So it's great. Field of Magic, Hear the Roar. Thunder Game Cats are loose. With the Australian $2 says, you guys sound qualified to shave my bum fluff. Are we? Are we in a roast? Is this PSVR Roastcast Friday? Like what just happened?
Don't know. I don't know, but we'll see where this goes.
Antonio Jackson with the $5 tip says, hope you're feeling better. Glad you were able to do GAMESCAST today. It's always a highlight of my day. Also enjoying the Synapse story. I need DLC. Hell yeah, I am feeling better. Thank you. I had a migraine on Wednesday's show, and then what happened on Monday? I think AJ had a late work day, and I said, you know what? We just went through a 5-hour debate. I think people will understand. So, yeah. I hate canceling Gamescast though. It's like this is my favorite part of the day, like favorite parts of the week, where I just get to hang out and not sit and edit for 10 hours at a time or play games that I don't want to play. We just get to hang out and have fun conversations. So, I think we got one more tip here. That's Man Bear Pig Game Cat Myles. He does exist with a $2 tip. Where is the Switchback patch? That's a good question. I would be shocked. I was actually shocked that we didn't see it today. But I would be shocked if we don't see it by like next week. What's weird is that Supermassive Games has been really good about keeping us updated right around the time that the patch should be out. Right? They say, hey, it's going to come out. We're planning on having it out by the end of June, and then like July 1st, they say, oh, just kidding. 2 weeks from now is what we're projecting it'll take to go through QA, and then it's like today. I think is the 2 week mark, and so are they going to tell us tomorrow? Sunday, Monday, like I think it's about time for an update. So hopefully they'll tell us soon.
How many game cats in the chat are going to jump in when the update is available? I'm curious.
That sounds like a poll to me.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how many people are like. Well, some people might be. It's not going to change. Like I'm still playing it now. But there are some people that might be like, no, I'm already done with it. I can't wait to jump back into it. I did it on my Let's Play. I played, I think, the first 3 areas, and then I said, I'm not going to touch this again until this gets fixed. And then when I heard they were going to be doing updates, I was like, great, I'll wait for it. But yeah, Brian's getting the poll ready.
Yeah,
love it.
It's obviously a messy poll. I asked if you'll finally go back to or finally buy Switchback when the patch goes live. And so it's yes, no, or it depends on the quality of the patch. Which I guess, because I mean, this patch could come out and we could all go, I don't see a difference. Nothing's changed here. So I'm curious to know what people are thinking as of this point before that information is public.
I did get a lot of Rush of Blood vibes from one of the games that were announced at the Perp Showcase today.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
And I mean that in not a rip-off way, just like a cool way. Like it had that kind of just, I don't know, just the dark, gritty feeling of it. And obviously it does have sort of carnival funfair aspects to it. But I thought that was really cool.
Well, Myles, that brings us to, at 29 minutes into the show, our very first news story of the day. And I'm not sure if everybody knows this. We haven't really talked about it on Without Parole because it's something that I wanted to get confirmation on. And for whatever reason, I was having one hell of a time of communicating with the developer. But as it turns out, for everybody waiting for all these PSVR1 games to come over to PSVR2, we now have confirmation that another game, The Room VR, A Dark Matter, is coming to PlayStation VR2. Is it July 27th? I don't have my notes up. Yes, July 27th, Thursday, July 27th.
Nice.
It's coming to PSVR 2. It will be a free upgrade for people who already own the PSVR 1 version. So hopefully that means if you didn't buy it at launch, that when we told you it was $9 or something like that, and we're like, this is one of the best games on PSVR, you should really pick it up. Hopefully you picked it up during one of those sales. And if not, well, lesson learned. Listen to us. So the official press release says, well, these last months, our team has been quietly beavering away. That's not a term I'm familiar with, Myles. Is that British? Like working hard like a beaver? Beavering away?
Working away like a beaver, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it is a British term, but... working away like a beaver.
It's not an American term, I'll tell you that.
Is it not? No.
As far as I'm aware.
Working away like a beaver.
Beavering away.
And we don't even have... I don't think we have beavers over here.
On the PSVR 2 update for the Room VR, and the best news is any previous owner of the Room VR on PlayStation will receive this as a free update to their original purchase. It'll be coming out July 27th, 2023, featuring higher resolution assets, visuals, and support for Rumble. Fireproof Games are proud to say the Room VR PSVR 2 is the single best way to experience the immersion, gameplay thrills, and visual mastery the series has become known for. Did you play? This is my favorite part of these PSVR 2 remasters, is getting to find out if Myles has played this or this will be his first time. This
will be my first time, Brian.
Nice. I'm excited for
really
you.
Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the bit thing about these remasters is it creates like a separate conversation to a lot of games. They're either brand new games, but in this case, it's a chance for people that have played it on PSVR1 to sort of say, this is what I loved about it, and like, you know, teasing about parts of it, whilst also it being an experience that we can all have for the first time together. And then you can have those two conversations. What was it like for those that actually compare it? Because then I'll be asking you, like, oh, how did it compare to the PSVR1 version? And then there's also just talking about it as a game that we both get to experience for the first time. So yeah, really, really excited about this.
Yeah. Seriously, we had so many escape room style games on PSVR1, and this just oozed quality from a team that knew escape rooms like inside out. And so I don't expect there to be a massive difference. I expect to get in there and be like, ooh, adaptive triggers. Ooh, a little bit of rumble. This is fine. Oh, this looks... And you always feel as though, oh, this looks like I remember it on PSVR1, until you go back and try the PSVR1 version, and you're like, that's not how it looked on PSVR1. Not even a little bit. Looper the Underground Game Cab, the €2 says, can't wait for haptics when you pull the ropes. You do pull ropes. Yeah. Always love pulling ropes. Yeah. I will say, you know, there's always an opportunity to when these games come around to go back in and really blow it out of the water and do this kind of almost remake or full-fledged remaster where you're introducing all these new mechanics. And I'm very curious if the team at any point thought, hey, we have node-to-node teleportation in this game. Should we consider a full locomotion at least option? And I'd be curious to know if that was something that ever happened behind the scenes, because I feel as though the developers and I guess myself, when I reviewed the game, considered the node-to-node teleportation made perfect sense in an escape room style game where you're sort of just like led to areas that you can interact with instead of just wandering around this big open area and being like, I don't fucking know what to do here. Like it sort of helps you focus, but also cuts the gameplay time down by like a third, I would bet. I would have loved the option to do that in this, though. That's my.
It is so. It is described as being designed from the ground up for the unique capabilities of VR.
Oh yeah.
Which I mean, whenever you hear designed from the ground up, it makes you wonder what that, because we've learned in gaming that can mean a whole lot of things.
It's also a term that's getting old. Like, I'm really tired of being like, okay, because you know what? Like, we've had plenty of hybrid games or games that were built with both in mind, flat screen and VR, and they're just as good or just as VRAF or just as interactive. And so it doesn't mean anything to me anymore, built from the ground up for VR. It's like, well, it doesn't actually mean anything specifically. It's just a way to, I don't know, pat yourself on the back without actually doing anything. But this is a great game, and so even with the node-to-node teleportation, like it's just one of those that oozes atmosphere, and I think it's just the right amount of horror for you, Myles, where it's these are creepy environments, but it's not. Yeah. But you don't really have to worry about anything. It's not. It's not. Yeah. It's meant to creep you out, not to scare you.
Yeah. Are there any beavers in it?
Not to my knowledge, but
no.
With 100,
that is a VR game I would love to play.
A beaver simulator VR.
Yeah, where you got to build like a beaver dam. That'd be wicked. Like,
and you are a beaver, right?
Yeah, you are a beaver.
Okay.
You have to like get logs and shit or whatever they do.
That works. With 120 votes, will you go back to or finally buy Switchback when the patch goes live? 46% of you said yes, 19% said no, and 35% says depends on the patch. But 46%, that's an overwhelming majority of people saying, hey, when the patch goes live, I'm fucking checking it out or finally going to buy it. So that's good news.
And there's 20% is what percent I'd expect, or maybe more than that, I'd expect of people that just, it's not their kind of game. So.
Excellent point.
I have them from time to time. Rarely, so treasure this moment.
I'll do my best. No promises. Myles, before we talk about that Perp game showcase that happened today, you and I have both been playing a bit of, at least, Bad Dreams on PSVR1, which, listen, man, I think we have a lot to say about Bad Dreams on PSVR1. However, Is this the first time you've worn your PSVR1 headset since PSVR2 came out?
Yeah, I'm so excited to have this conversation. I was delaying it for today because I have always just felt pretty sick in my stomach whenever I hold the box with all my PSVR1 stuff, all the cables.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, it's time to set up. I have to say, I think it's the fastest I've ever set up my PSVR, and I don't know why. But I had to use a YouTube tutorial to make sure I was just, doing it as quick as I could. Yeah, like, I mean, there's a lot I want to talk about what it was like putting on the headset. I mean, we can go backwards and forwards with one thing at a time. The first thing I'm going to say was I couldn't believe how much light was coming in from the sides. I thought, oh, is it actually right up against my eyes? And I was like, oh no, that is it. And it just made me instantly appreciate how good the blacking out is on the PSVR2.
I mean, I was pleasantly surprised putting it back on because there's so much padding. Like I didn't have any of the light blocking problems. Like it blocked the light just as well as the PSVR2 did for me. But I've been kind of saying that about PSVR 1 and 2. It just seems like it's designed for my head, where people have all different shapes, sizes, heads, and so the light blocking and the lenses and all sorts of problems. But I haven't had any of those. After playing PSVR 2 for so long, putting on the PSVR 1 for the first time since February 22nd, or probably a week prior, maybe 2 weeks prior. It feels like there's so much padding on the PSVR 1. Like it feels like an abundant amount, like too much. But but once you put it on, it's like oh, this is really comfortable. I feel like it might be more comfortable than the PSVR 2. And it feels just as lightweight because of the way the Halo strap is like so the way it sits on your head. I'm actually
interesting.
Really, really, really surprised just how lightweight and comfortable it felt. It didn't feel, kind of putting it into perspective, PSVR 2 doesn't feel like a massive upgrade in any way, shape, or form in the comfort factor. They've got that Halo design and it works great. Yeah,
that's true. Thinking about it, it was super comfy. It's like your head was getting a hug. It was nice.
But I went through the process, man. I went through the process of setting it back up. I plugged, because it had been sitting over here next to me on the stand. And so when I went to plug in both HDMI cables into the breakout box, because the breakout box was still pretty much set up. Right. But there was a USB cable that was from the back that wasn't plugged in properly. And so I had to go figure out which cable was missing, and it was that process.
Right.
And then my setup is exactly the same as I left it, meaning it was in a worse position for gaming. And so the camera was too close to me. And so when I played, I had to make sure to stand back against my couch as far as possible so that when I moved my arms, the Move controllers were in view of the camera. And it was just, it made me appreciate PSVR 2 so much more.
And I think seeing the UI for the first time was a great comparison of resolution, and also not just like the resolution, but the sort of the width. I think it's is it a 10-degree difference?
Yeah,
between the which is actually quite a lot. But you would think it's not a lot in the numbers, but actually being in there, it's the difference from realizing you were looking at a VR screen. You felt like you were looking at two screens compared to you just feel the immersion, you're having that extra 10 degrees. It just brings you a bit more into it. And then I think, unless there's anything you want to say about just the general setup, I was just going to say the first thing I realized when I started playing this game was I almost got stuck on the setup screen because I just didn't know what buttons I was meant to be pressing. And I was like, what button am I meant to press to make it select this? It's not. And it was the thumb button. What's the thumb button called?
The move button?
I feel like I feel like I've just blocked it out from my memory. It took me forever to get out the settings menu and just to get into the game. And I was like, I've forgotten how to use Move controllers.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, when I first turned it on and I saw the PlayStation 5 home screen, first of all, I was like, why is this in such a low resolution? Everything looked pixelated. It was something we just sort of, oh, whatever. This is Gen 1 PSVR, Gen 1 VR almost. And I think we just accepted what it was. But having seen the PSVR 2 home screen for so long and seeing how clear it is, it provided such a great contrast. And going back in the PSVR one, just seeing like how low res it is like shocking to me. And then trying to use the move controller to interact with it, like hold down the trigger and slide, like that's a talent that I think needs to be nurtured on occasion, because I was so bad at it. Getting back into it, I was like, what? This is so ridiculous. It's horrible. Yeah. What about Bad Dreams, man? Did you?
I played so little of it. Unbelievable. I did get past the tutorial, and I did play like the first Bad Dream, I guess, whatever it is. Look, I'm gonna just keep it real to everyone. Even when the resolution is low, you can still create good mood. And for me, horror is horror. The very, very beginning in the tutorial, where you're in complete darkness, I thought I was going to be stuck there forever. I finally found out how to turn the light on. But all I would say is that the reason I stopped playing was it was a mixture of frustration and look, when I'm in horror games, a big part of horror is like losing control, not being in control of the situation, the environments, the demons, whatever, the ghosts, whatever game you're playing, the werewolves. You know, they're controlling it. You know, that's the whole point of horror. You're sort of losing control of your situation. And so when I'm playing a horror game and the controls aren't intuitive, I just get frustrated.
Yep.
And so for me, I'm going to shut up after just this one point, which is being able to run. I just having to double tap one of the smaller buttons, like, you know, not having the sticks, you know, things we take for granted but we, you know, I say we don't take for granted with PSVR2. We knew that when we were using the move controllers, that this was something that was so old school for even PSVR. And so I gave up pretty quickly, going, yeah, I'm getting a feel for this. It's interesting to play a PSVR game. I'm really interested in the concept, and I'm interested in having this conversation with you, who's obviously probably got a lot further than me. But my initial thought was just like, bring this out on PSVR2, or maybe he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get that far. I played for probably an hour and died a few times within that hour. So there's a lot of backtracking, playing a lot. To be fair, for anyone out there, if anyone thinking that Myles is like, you know, just out of practice, or like, I can't believe you forgot how to play a PSVR 1 game. I mean, this game is coming out next week, I believe, or this upcoming week on PSVR 1. And I mean, I'd love to send a note to the developers and say, this isn't how PSVR 1 games control. I mean, the turn buttons were in the wrong place. The movement button was not the move button. It was very Wolf and Wood style for them. Like the top left button moved you forward, the bottom left moved you backwards. It's very uncomfortable to play. Sometimes you're using the trigger to grab things. Sometimes you're using the move button to interact. It was confusing, and that's not how most PSVR 1 games controlled. So but off to a bad start, right? But I will say, hold on, I gotta go full screen with this. This is like I'm just checking out the physics of the game and trying to lift shit up. So I'm got this massive picture frame that's going straight through the table and allowing me to lift things off the table as long as I don't move too fast with it. I can lift them up and slide them off the picture frame. It's very wonky, but this is the smallest amount of jank that this game has. The fact that you can actually interact with these items and push them around and stuff is actually kind of cool. I will say, for a game that is at best janky, there's so much creativity here. This is from the Darkness Roller Coaster developers, who I've given so much shit to over the years, that no matter how many people on PCVR who played this on PCVR said, no, you got to give Bad Dreams a shot. It's actually pretty good. I wasn't expecting this level of creativity. There's actually a lot going on here. Because I've played every crappy horror game there is on PlayStation VR 1, some on Quest, and I'm actually kind of surprised by what goes on in this game. I think there's so many good ideas that I am willing to put up with the jank to the point because I want to see what happens next. And let's be clear, Myles, this feels like a game that was made in dreams. When people say that as a derogatory term,
Wow.
I'm using it to say a talented developer in Dreams probably could have made this game, because that's how a lot of it feels.
That's interesting. Yeah, I have to say, like from the beginning, the opening story and stuff like that, and also sort of knowing it. I mean, the trailer, I have to say, for this game is amazing. It's really well edited with the music and stuff like that. I love the trailer for this game. I actually think it's got really great concepts, because when I think of like the horror that freaks me out most, it's the stuff that's most grounded in reality. The idea of like losing your mind and, you know, your reality is shifting around you. And you've got the sort of functionality of like having to cover your ears. That's really cool. And there's also just like weird, funny moments. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but I'll just say it to Brian, and hopefully he'll laugh when he thinks about this moment. But when you're on the beach and the kid asks you to pass the football, did you do that?
Yes.
Okay, I found it funny.
Oh.
You throw the... Okay, spoilers for anyone that's going to go back on their PSVR and play it.
And also spoilers for the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah. The kid asks you to throw the football, and when you do, it turns into a head.
Yeah. Oh, I actually thought that was cool.
I thought that was awesome. No, that's what I mean. I found it funny in a cool way. Like, I thought that was like a really cool horror moment. Like, that happened. Yeah.
And that's what I think that's what surprised me most about this game. Anyone who's been watching the channel for a while, anybody who watched me play and review countless PSVR1 horror games, my favorite thing about those was always the concept of, hey, I've entered a room, or I've opened the door and I've walked through it, and then when I turn around, something different is behind me. That, I think, is something that works so well in VR, more so than any flat screen game. And developers who pull that off well kind of get a certain level of respect from me. Sorry, sirens on my end, whether they show up now or later. It's in Bad Dreams, even in the first hour, does this multiple times. And as you said, like, you pick up the ball and it's a head. And like, this is, they did it without even, you know, you turning your back, right? Like, it just happens, like, kind of right in front of you, and you're like, oh, what? That's kind of cool. Well,
I didn't even so it turns in the head as you pick it up, because I wasn't looking at it. I was looking at the kid, and as I threw it, it was a head. So that's why it made me laugh. Of like, I was expecting a ball, and then I just see this head just thud on the floor. I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah. So I think this is going for like $12 or $15 on Steam, and so the fact is that I like a lot of what it's doing. Obviously, there's a lot of jank. There's a lot of really goofy things, right? You'd expect from a B horror movie type thing. Horrible voice acting, like just some of it, especially the main character. At one point, he goes, in the weirdest way, he says, "I think I just shit myself," but he said it in like the goofiest way. I think that this might be a bunch of French voice actors that don't speak English and are trying to speak English. It's the David, is it David Cage? At Quantic Dreams, it's like that, the Quantic Dreams syndrome. And so I'm like, oh man, I was like, desperately wish I could just be like, send me all the lines. Please let me just voice this character, like, please. Because it would be, because I think that there's something enjoyable here. And I don't know if they want us to be laughing at the game while also, you know, playing through and being scared and enjoying it for what it's supposed to be. I don't know if they also want us to be laughing at it. And so if they can kind of get rid of some of those more silly moments, I think it would be worthwhile.
Do we know if this is coming to PSVR2, or is
it is in October?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, I mean, regardless of the fact that I've committed to playing every game on a Let's Play, this is a game I'm actually really interested in experiencing on PSVR2. That just the first level, Brian, where you're running down that tunnel, and you meet some sort of entity. That's all I'll say. I just got very frustrated with the controls. I kept my character kept stop running, and I was just like, screw this. Like, this is making me anxious, and I'm unable to move. It's like those dreams where you're trying to run away and you can't, which I get it if that was an intentional mechanic, but it was literally because the button, I had to keep double tapping the button again. And
it was very strange. I felt like I had to double tap the button and also do the motion that they wanted me to do. Was that the case?
Let's talk about that quickly. Yeah. So there is a double tap. So you do the thing where you double tap it, but you hold it down the second time to go into a run. But then is it to then go even faster? You got to move your arms. I don't know. This is it. We don't know.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If you're still on PSVR 1, and you're just desperate for a new horror game, and you don't mind putting up with the jank to just kind of see these creative scenarios that the game puts you in, maybe, but just know what you're getting into. It should be coming out within the next week on PSVR1. But for everybody else, like, the developers are saying the PSVR2 version will be the best version, better than the PC VR version. And so if they can work out some of this jank between now and October and really smooth out the visuals, this is blurry on PSVR1. Like, even for, like, I hadn't played PSVR1 in probably 5 or 6 months, whatever it's been. And I was like, oof, I know that games look better than this. I know that they can look better than this. They can look sharper. And I was talking to Tatum earlier, and he said the PC VR version looks clear. So already we know that the PSVR2 version will look much better than this. So for anyone who doesn't have PSVR2, fine. For anyone who does have PSVR2, I'd say hold off, and but also know what you're getting into either way.
Makes me wonder, when is the last PSVR1 game going to get released? I mean, there's two stages. When's the last time we're going to be covering a PSVR1 game?
Till the very end.
I feel, yeah. But then I do wonder, like, it's interesting that it is just on PSVR1. I would just always assume that the only time there's going to be PSVR1 games in future is just when there's a double release, right?
I don't know. It's a good question. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, Awesome Asteroid just came to PSVR1 like, what, 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. So I mean, like, they're still coming. They're trickling out. So,
but that's what I mean. If it's coming out on PSVR2, it'll come out on both. But like, I've just seen on your video the baby in the plastic bag on the wall. It's probably long gone on your clip. There's so much weird stuff in this game. It's so bizarre.
It's very bizarre. 12, the backlogged GameCat. It says, is this one confirmed as a free PSVR2 upgrade? I don't think they mentioned that in the email they sent me.
Interesting.
So yeah, you again might want to hold off just to make sure. But I'll check in on that. Myles, before our next news story, we want to check in with Looper, the Underground GameCat, with the €2. Going back to our beaver simulator game, he says it should be called BVR. Beaver.
That's amazing. Right, I'm going to write that down. He hasn't copywritten it already, has he? Trademarked it.
I don't think so. Salvador with the level 3 membership says, fun fact, beavers became extinct in England, mainly because castoreum, an anal secretion used in perfumes, food and medicine, they work their butt off. So wait, hold on. Beavers are being killed for their anal secretions, and now they're extinct in England. What are you guys doing over there, Myles? This is insanity.
I know, that is bad. The fun fact I know about beavers is that their diet, they do like vegetation and that, and they actually, out of sticks and that, they actually create a bowl, and they have like their leaves and stuff in it. So they actually create a salad, and they put a little sauce on it, and it's called branch dressing.
Macho Vasquez with the $5 tip says, side note, I'd really love a full-blown Sherlock Holmes or said style game for PSVR 2 with the high IQ combat and light shooting, thumbs up, murder, mysteries, FTW. Wow, that was a lot of information and in very few words. Yeah, I mean, LA Noire, the VR case files, that was it for me. That felt like I was on a murder investigation. That meant like I was checking out, I was looking at all sorts of items and trying to determine clues. It was a little janky, but I mean, I think it got the job done. The description of Pneumata VR, I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention, but Pneumata VR was talked about during the showcase today. The description of that sounds wildly different than what all the trailers are showing. All the trailers are showing what seems like a pretty typical first-person horror adventure, but the description of that game talks about investigating murders and looking for clues and interrogating witnesses and stuff. I mean, like, what the fuck is that game about, dude? Pneumata looks. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what we'll be doing in that game. TJ Perry with the $2 tip says, Brian's headstone will say sirens on my end. Start engraving, man. I'm about to call it.
My goodness.
And I think that covers us for tips. All right, man. Did you have a chance to watch the Perp Game Showcase today?
I did. Loved it.
Yeah.
You were great. And
I was
really
hot
good.
and sweaty is what I was.
Can I just get a sense of time? Was the last Perp Showcase, VR Showcase that you did, was it this time last year?
No, I think
No.
I stumbled across it accidentally today, so I do know this information. It was about 5 months ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Okay. I'm kind of glad because I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, it hasn't been a year since the last one, has it?
No.
That's awesome, though. Super cool. And for me, it just has the elements of what I like in a showcase or a state of play, preferably, is showing games and having the devs talking about the games that they work on.
Yeah.
I do feel that VR lends itself better to that simply because we're in this kind of Wild West, this, golden era of VR where it's a lot of smaller developers, where it's like, hey, it's us two. We're like half the team. It's people that have more of a holistic approach as opposed to with massive first party IPs. It's going to be, oh, let's get the PR person out there that has their trained notes. These devs are more just, this is what we've done. This is why we do it. And in particular, the Wanderer section, just hearing them talk about the game was just an absolute joy. So yeah, I loved it. I kind of would have liked a one more thing. I felt like there was just one more thing I was expecting. But I don't say that in a kind of, and it was ruined. Like, what was shown was great. Like, there was a good range of games.
Well,
and the tennis game.
Yeah.
Oh, can't wait for that.
Here's my feeling. And I want to talk to Perp about this and see if they're aware of what's happening, because games like Happy Funland, the trailers show up on the PlayStation YouTube channel, and Tennis on Court, right? And so we get all these kind of like small announcements scattered throughout the months, and then the showcase rolls around, and yes, we get to see more gameplay footage, and yes, we get to hear from the developers, right? And we get a little bit more information about these games. But how much better would it have been if we didn't get those PlayStation, those trailers on the PlayStation YouTube channel, and these games weren't announced yet? I feel like if you just hold back a little bit more, that these showcases could be really exciting. Like, these could be the showcases that people look forward to for PlayStation VR2 from this point moving forward. If none of these games had been revealed, I mean, I see that Madison VR, they're trickling it out slowly. Like they're saying, they're really trying to build up. They've
announced an announcement, in August.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so it's like, okay, maybe do that with one or two of your games, but for the rest of them, pull back, man. Like, because Vertigo 2 was such a big announcement today. It's one of those games on PC VR that everybody talks about that says this needs to come to PSVR2. This is one of the best games. I saw somebody today say it's their second favorite VR game ever after Half-Life Alyx.
Wow.
So it's big news, and they held that back for this showcase. But if they held back everything for this showcase, it would have been like bam, 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 holy shit. And then the whole thing would have been like a mic drop moment for Perp Games and PSVR2.
So when we're talking about like Tennis on Court, for example, was that only announced by PlayStation on their channel just by uploading a trailer? It was just one of those trailer drops, right?
I don't even remember. This is the problem, right? Over the last few months, how everything gets revealed, I don't know. I don't remember. It was, but whatever
it wasn't at a state of play or a showcase, so it must have been done that way. It hasn't been announced on a blog post, which I think goes to your point that why is that how things are being announced? Like, save it for.
Well, and so many developers, when asked, they just publicly go, "Oh yeah, we have plans to bring it to PSVR 2." That happened with Happy Funland. That happened with Tennis on Court. That happened with, even the way they revealed Pneumata VR, they were just like, "Oh yeah, it's coming to VR," but we're not announcing which headsets. It's sort of just this information keeps trickling out in unexciting ways. And if they just hold back, I think we could have amazing showcases from this point on. I just don't know. Oh, sorry. Prince of Summer Scales in the chat. Tennis on Court was just announced by a random appearance on the store in the MetaQuest trailer. So, right, all these things started showing up on the PlayStation Store as well. And so it's like, just, like, how excited can you possibly be about Happy Funland without knowing anything about it? Right?
But do you think that this is not, and I'm not saying that you're aiming like responsibility or blame at anyone in particular, but do you think that's just because we're in this weird middle ground at the moment where no one's really owning it? No one's really owning PSVR 2 as like, we're the people that are going to announce stuff. And so devs, when they're asked and they go, oh yeah, we have plans, It's
Right.
because they're like, well, no one else has asked us about it, so like we may as well tell someone. Whereas like Perp Games has a real opportunity here to be like, no, we're going to be the place to announce, which is what I think you were saying.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, this is an opportunity to say, no, we are going to be the place that everyone wants to have their games announced. Like we look at, how Jeff Keighley has done it with, Summer Game Fest and the Video Game Awards.
Yeah.
As, things like E3 are collapsing. You could argue, well, is PlayStation collapsing in their ownership of it? And by the way, you could argue that, PlayStation not dominating too much VR on their showcases is because the majority of people are still flat screen gamers. That's fine, regardless of their reasons for doing it.
Right.
The point is there is an opportunity here for someone to say, we need to do more. And to be fair with Perp Games, this is their second one. They have an opportunity to build, and actually seeing what Perp Games have done in the last year alone, it really feels like they're racking up their involvement, like again with flat screen games as well. I actually thought there was going to be an announcement of was it Grey Hill Zone?
The Grey Hill incident.
Yeah, that's it. Great.
Which by the way, they sent me, and I just can't. I tried to play it on my PlayStation 5 flat screen, and it's like, first of all, it screams VR.
That's what I mean. When I first saw it promoted, I thought, wow, this is a VR game. And it was like, oh no, it's flat screen. I was like, what? How?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it screams VR so much. Here, I think I've got a trailer for that. Here it is. Right. It screams VR so much that like when you're trying to play it in flat screen, you suddenly remember just how difficult it can be to play a first-person adventure game in flat screen. Like you don't. It's a zero depth. Completely zero depth. You can't figure out what you can interact with. Like, kind of struggling.
You have to control your head movement with the controller. So
right.
That's that you've already lost a control because you've now got, you're using the two sticks. It was the same with driving games and GT7. People don't appreciate that when you're driving along, you're having to constantly move the head with one controller.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like, no, I can just peer out that window now while I'm.
Danishing Act in the chat says Grey Hill stinks. I didn't get far enough in because I was so intolerant of how it played that. But what I did see, I was like, man, this is a case of VR makes everything better. This game looks like it might be kind of like super low budget, probably a really small team. Fine, I'm always down for games like that, but it was missing the impact it needed. Like something crazy happens in the barn early on, and I was like, in VR, this would be so impactful right now. In outside of VR, no impact. So I really do hope that they bring this game to VR, just because that's the only way I think people are going to really enjoy it.
But sorry, going back to the original, I mean, I'm glad we touched upon all that. The point I was trying to you, and I think we were both agreeing on, is Perp Games has an opportunity here to be the place.
Yes.
And by putting their foot down, it will encourage developers. Because again, a lot of these developers, they're still in their early stages. I actually had the developer message me earlier, who I keep seeing in chats now, Cactus VR Studios, who is a solo developer, and sent me a wonderful message saying, if you're going to do a Let's Play, can I send you details? And they just said that I'm kind of all new to this reaching out, and I'm sorry if I've bothered you. And I was like, no, you're doing it absolutely right. And like just engage with the community. And like, I just love that, this is the story. Like, there are devs out there that are trying to find their way. And, there's an opportunity here to be a HQ for these showcases.
Yeah. It's funny because when you say that, like, obviously I would love for Without Parole to be the HQ of like reviews for all these games. And then you talk about something like Cactus Cowboy VR. And, it's something I've talked to the developer numerous times, and he is a super nice guy. And I'm like, here I am trying to justify spending a couple of days to review a free to play game. Right. But it's like, people can just download it and check it out for themselves. Our moderator and good friend Elvert spent some serious time with it. He finished the game, and he said he had a lot of fun with it. So I just can't, though. Like, people are trying to figure out if they should spend $40 or $30 on Operation Wolf, right? And I was like, I need to tell people whether or not something like that. So right now, I feel like I'm playing catch up, and I'm going to be playing catch up until the end of time, trying to get these reviews done. But yeah. Perp Games specifically, I think, could be a very interesting. The problem is that they're only promoting games that they're publishing, right? This isn't like some weird VR showcase where they're just featuring all sorts of shit that they have no involvement in. But I think as their publishing branch gets bigger and bigger, as we've seen slowly happen over the course of the last 7 or 8 years, that we'll see more games being published by them. So they could easily become the place and maybe a destination for these smaller indie devs like the Vertigo guy to go to get their games published on PSVR2. So.
That's exactly right. So yeah, no. So I did see today's showcase as a real like stepping stone for Perp games.
Yeah.
And you know, if there's criticisms like I've given of like there could have been one more game, the point is this is the second time doing it, and it's still early days. And the fact is, Brian, you have now hosted 2 showcases that have been on IGN. I know you don't know who IGN is, but
never heard of
the reality is that's fucking amazing. And like, congrats. And it once again proves the power of what PSVR without Parole is doing with all the hard work that you do. And because of all the amazing support of all the game cats and everyone watching right now. And if you haven't already, do hit the like button because it's important.
Justin in the chat, or just living in the chat, says, "Don't hate on Cactus Cowboy. It's actually a great game to get for free." Who's hating on Cactus Cowboy?
I loved it.
Who's hating on Cactus Cowboy? No one.
I played the beginning of it and I had a good time of it, and I can't wait to do a proper Let's Play of it.
Twitcher, the single player game cat in the chat with the 2 quid says, "It's my birthday. Here's your present." Happy birthday, Twitcher.
Happy birthday.
And I didn't get you anything.
That's the best gift. The gift of surprise. Surprise!
Right, a gift of nothing. Right?
Yeah.
I like gifts of nothing. I like birthdays coming and going without people even knowing. Every year I do my best to not let anybody know it's my birthday till the day after, just so I can guilt trip everyone into not saying happy birthday the day after. Like, oh, it's too late now. What a good friend you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Question, and this is for Twitcher as well, and everyone in the chat, and for you, Brian. It's your birthday. You literally have a whole day cleared out. So you have complete free time. This is what's happening. Just imagine this. I know it might not be possible. What VR game on PSVR2 would you just love to just say, I've got a day free. This is the game I want to spend my day playing. Is there a PSVR2 game? Is there one in particular that you would love? Don't have to worry about reviews or anything or live streams or anything. This is just a game I'd love to spend time in. What is your birthday PSVR2 game, Brian?
Oh my God. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Don't know that one.
No. I mean, I wish VR Skater was out, or I wish I even had a review key at this point, because, like, you know, I know I've said this ad nauseum for the last month or something, maybe 2 months, but it's a game that, like, I want to get really good at, and I'm not that coordinated. So to be able to string combos together, tricky. String tricks together in order to create these awesome combos and obviously get very cool footage for not only GAMESCAST but reviews. Like, I want kind of an unlimited amount of time to spend with that game. And so I think that's my current answer, but for very without Parole reasons.
No, but that's a good answer. I think that is a game that would be great to spend a lot of time in. And someone said Resident Evil 8, obviously. We've got Puzzling Places, GT7.
I'd play through RE8 again, just for funsies.
What would it be for me?
Obviously. Man, like, there's so much I want to do in Gran Turismo and just haven't had the time to get back to do.
What would it be for me? Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think of a game that I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of. I mean, there are plenty of them. I would probably say.
What are you doing? What are you doing, huh? What are you doing? You didn't want that being.
I would probably say, man, I don't know. I'd probably say like the Light Brigade. The Light Brigade. I'd probably be a roguelite or something like that. And it's just because the Light Brigade I've not played huge amounts of. I mean, I've played a couple of hours, but it's a game that I'd love to play again and again. I think that would be it for the moment. Or maybe The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2. There's a lot of these games that I've played quite a bit of, but I've not like gone all the way through. And I just love to. There's so many games I just want to see to the end. And I know that you probably share that feeling as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, every game that I can think of is like a game that I want to get back to review properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
What did Twitcher say? I'm just having a look. Did I read Twitcher's? Did Twitcher even give an answer? I'll probably be RE8. Very jolly birthday fare.
I do, but as we talk about the Perp Showcase, we're not going to go through every game that was there. It was. What do you feel about showcases that are this length, Myles? Because I feel like with a 17, 18-minute showcase, fast, concise, to the point, game after game after game after game, and then it's over before it starts. I feel like we don't need to go through the entire showcase because it was so concise. In the chat, I want to know like what your favorite game was, what interests you the most from the showcase, if you had a chance to watch it. Which is like why we don't need to go through the whole thing because it's so short. What do you feel about this? Would you rather have them wait and have them do like this hour-long showcase every 12 months?
I mean, when I think about like my general rules as a content development manager in cybersecurity, when it comes to doing features and stuff, the general rule I have for content is it's not about how long it is, it's about how long it feels. And so the pacing, I know there was going to be loads of innuendo there. But was it 18 minutes?
and how long did it feel, Myles? What is it? Is it in yet?
I mean, I was like, is it in? Where has it gone? It was great. I mean, like I wish there was another maybe 10 minutes or so. Like the pacing was brilliant. The pacing. I realize anything I say now is going to sound like innuendo, so there's no escaping it. So I may as well just lean into it. Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like it could have been 45 minutes or an hour with that pacing because the mixes between you speaking, devs talking about their games, and showing like footage and gameplay.
Yeah,
it was great. It was great. So honestly, I have to admit, when it finished, I was like, oh, that finished a lot quicker than I thought, but it was great. I'm
trying not to. I really am.
Why don't we just have an innuendo counter up there?
Right.
Bing, bing. Yeah, it ended. I was like, oh, I feel like I got fucked. Yeah, is that what I should say? Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it would have been great to have like another 10 minutes or so. But
yeah,
but it was great.
Seems like most people in the chat are saying Vertigo too. Like there's no contest. What's great?
Sorry, in terms of the game, yeah.
Yeah, Baggio10 asked about tennis getting a physical release. What are you doing? Seriously. And yeah, it is getting a physical release. Perp Games, kind of the kings of physical media on PSVR, PSVR2. Most of the games they showed today, VR Skater, Happy Funland, Madison, Pneumata. All the games, I believe all the games they showed up until Vertigo 2 at least are confirmed for physical. I don't remember if they ended by saying Vertigo 2 is also getting a physical. I just don't want to misspeak here. But most of the games you saw today, absolutely.
Yeah, something I was sort of joking about in the chat during the tennis game was, but it was actually a serious point. I remember playing table tennis VR games on PSVR, and it was in the summer, and I was playing multiplayer against people around the world, some of which spoke a completely different language. So the only language I knew was being frustrated of losing a point or being ecstatic when scoring a point. But the idea that I was playing in a room that you wouldn't be able to fit a table tennis table in, and there I was playing table tennis, it just creates virtual space that you're able to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. That was the magic of playing table tennis in VR. And then seeing this tennis trailer of being on a massive court, I was just like, this takes it to the whole next level. Like, you're literally going to be able to play on a tennis court in your living room. And I find that really, really exciting. Do we know if there's going to be multiplayer in terms of like teams, or is it just like, but is it can you doubles,
yes.
Or is it?
Yeah. Wow. It's 1 to 4 player support, singles or doubles. And I will say, I don't know if you ever tried it on PSVR 1, Myles, but there was a game called Dream Match Tennis VR that
I didn't
got multiplayer support after the fact, but it was the best you could possibly expect from a team that size. It nailed the physics, right? And looking at these trailers, and they're showing how proud they are of the physics. That's what's important in these games. The fact that there's 1 to 4 player multiplayer with doubles or singles. Like, it's kind of given us everything we need. Hopefully there's some kind of tournament system. It's like, I don't know. I saw somebody complaining that, like, why isn't this photorealistic, right? We're inside this tennis court. Why isn't it photorealistic? Like, honestly, I think it looks good enough. And as long as we're in this weird phase of PSVR2 being so new that different people want different things. Some people are saying, I want photorealism. I need things to be photorealistic. And then I think a majority of people are saying, I'll take a slight graphical downgrade if it means it can run natively at 90 FPS with no reprojection or 120 FPS with no reprojection. Like, there's a pretty big divide right now. And I think it all depends on how much you notice reprojection and how much that bothers you, right? Because I'm noticing it. I went through a phase where I was noticing it so much, and now I've sort of pulled back. You know, the Hans VR lenses had something to do with that. Just kind of seeing everything clearly kind of negated some of the reprojection and blur for me. So I'm sort of in between. Like, I don't even know what I want anymore. I'm just sort of like, oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully they deliver the best possible game they can deliver. That's sort of my stance right now.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. I think when first jumping into VR, I'm all about just, it's all about realism. But there's a lot of games I like. For me, it's not about realism. The realism isn't in the aesthetic, it's the realism in the immersion. Do you feel like you're actually there? Yeah. And so an example, and I think this was discussed in our top 25 discussion, walkabout mini golf. I think AJ was making the argument, which I totally respect. And again, it goes down to preference, wishing, and forgive me if I am misquoting him and it was someone else that said it, but I think he was saying that he wishes that it was more realistic, the environments. I actually prefer the environment. Well, to be honest, I might be blown away from realism, but I do love the aesthetic. It's simple, so you know where the ball is, where you're going, and it's really good for that reason. And then I think of other games like Across the Valley we were talking about earlier, really simple draw style, but you feel like you're there. It's cute, it works, you feel present, it feels chill. It's all about the environment. And so this tennis game, from what I saw, although the thing I did have I was going to say, it looked fine to me. I missed it, actually. In the chat, everyone said, keep the temporary crowd there. Everyone loved it because it says something about, like, it's a placeholder crowd. I didn't see what was funny about it. I don't know, someone could enlighten me. I can watch it back, but that was a big part of the chat. I like that they said in the trailer, the crowd is a placeholder.
Looper, the Underground Game Cat in the chat says, just give us performance and quality presets. I don't know how difficult that is, right? Because that's
on
something
VR,
that's something you see very commonly on PC VR, right? Saying, like, basically giving you a slider saying, like, how detailed do you want this shit to be, like, based on your computer's performance. And so I feel like developers, I don't know if they just feel like, hey, we're developing this for one spec, we're developing it for one set of system requirements, that's the PlayStation 5 proper. And so I'm saying it as if there's a PlayStation 5 Pro, which there's not, just PlayStation 5. And I think developers are like, well, we did the absolute best we could do and to nail the best possible thing for those parameters. But yeah, with everybody wanting different things, it would be nice to kind of say, performance versus what's the other option? Realism,
performance versus resolution. Oh, it's
another P thing. Is performance versus crap.
Oh God, I've got that collective amnesia where since asking me, it's pushed it out.
Right.
Performance mode versus
quality or performance. Thank you, Looper.
Quality. That was it.
Yeah. So it would be nice to have those options. So we definitely have those options on some PS5 games, like flat screen games, and I think a lot of people would very much want the option to do something 90 FPS, no reprojection, and sacrifice some quality. I think that works. Fidelity, says Distracted. Yeah, I don't know what the term they use is, fidelity or quality, but point is, that's what we're looking at.
But yeah, the other game people were talking about, obviously, the last announcement of the show.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I have to say, the term that really grabbed my attention was, well, I don't think they use this term, but you basically get a level builder for Vertigo 2. You get to create your own levels.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to go somewhere else.
Oh, sorry. What did I?
I think you said second to last. A second to last announcement.
Oh, was it the second to last?
No, I thought you said second to last. That's why.
Oh, sorry.
That's where my
Okay.
confusion was. Yeah.
Okay, although I do want to talk about Wonder as well, but no, for Vertigo 2, the level builder that they offered, that, I mean, look, the game was exciting as it is. I'm really excited to play it, but the fact they got a level builder, that in itself means there's longevity to a game. Because if there's ways for communities to share stuff, you know, think of all these games. Think of Synapse if you could do a level builder. Oh, it'd be amazing.
Okay, so interesting. I'm gonna bring up Macho Vasquez's tip here with the $20. Said thank you, by the way. Appreciate everyone's generosity tonight. He says Half-Life Alyx blew up because of great mods from the mod community. The John Wick mod is, I guess, perfection. Awesome.
Is it? There's a John Wick mod for Half-Life Alyx.
According to Macho Vasquez.
Wow.
Sony's always been so against mods. Do you think they will ever allow mods for these VR games? That's the one thing I can say PSVR has over PlayStation. I mean, they're against having this this unregulated mod system, right? Where people just like go in and they do their thing and they fucking upload it and then people patch into the like what a lot of developers seem to enjoy is saying, hey, you know, like we've seen all these mods and we will implement them as like bonuses, cheats into our game ourselves. And I'm just the wrong person to ask, right? I don't give a fuck about mods, like not even in the slightest. Like I want to play the game that the developers made and then go play something else. Like I want to experience the game the way they meant for me to experience it, despite the fact that maybe it would be even better based on the way that somebody else kind of interpreted it and added these things to it and, you know, changed the physics or whatever. I just don't have any interest in that. And I know that makes me probably the outlier in this conversation. Most people I know love mods. But I look at games like art and it's like, oh, here's the Mona Lisa, but we made it snowing in the foreground. Like, but that's not the Mona Lisa. That's something that somebody else went in. It's like, yeah, maybe it's better now, but it's not the game that was made. And so for me, because I look at video games as art, that's kind of where I draw the line. I'm like, well, you didn't make this game. Keep your hands off of it. And I'm not saying for other people. If other people enjoy that mod, wonderful. I'm glad they exist for those people. But for me, I have zero interest in that kind of stuff. Yeah,
no. Again, it goes back to taste and preferences. Yeah. I do think though, if there were certain VR games that had a horror mod, you wouldn't be curious.
I mean, curious, but like, not really. No,
But look, and we're talking about now. I'm talking about mods in the context of what PlayStation allows, and as you say, it's within their own confines. Like right. You know, Minecraft was able to do it because they have that sort of shared creative platform where you can share creations and things like that. You know, you played people's creations on Dreams, didn't you? Yep. I think Dreams is a slightly different animal because you're playing these individual experiences. But I think that if, you know, GameCats was saying, oh, you got to play this Vertigo 2 GameCat level that we've made or something like that everyone was raving on about, you'd want to give it a go. So yeah. I know you're not going against that because you're talking about mods overall, but like the level builder in this, yeah. I mean, that will add some longevity, won't it, to the game for you? Potentially.
See, and that's the thing. It's like longevity, yes, but like I've just never been that guy. Like not since I was 7. Like when I played Maniac Mansion 1,000 times and wanted to see every single possible outcome. I'm just not that guy anymore. Like I view games differently now. Like I want to play through them and experience everything, and maybe I'll play through it again or a couple times to get the platinum trophy. But I don't need to be playing the same game I played today 2 years from now. Like zero interest. Like that doesn't appeal to me. I'd rather move on and play something different. But 100% respect and understand that that's not how everybody feels. But yeah, I mean, it's so that's just my personal take on it, Macho Vasquez. So again, I'm not the guy to ask. As far as level creators, absolutely different. Dreams, totally different story. You know, if somebody creates a cool level in a level editor, I'll check it out. But again, that's not where that won't be the reason I'm interested in Vertigo 2. That won't be what holds my attention. What holds my attention is going to be like, oh, I want to play through the campaign, the story. And then they, on top of that, there's plenty. It sounds like there's plenty of replayability here with 4
3
different characters, 3 new,
yeah,
right? 4 total, is it? And then 3 different ones after you beat the campaign. Ted Rex in the chat says that much Maniac Mansion explains so much, Brian. Yeah, it does. But like, yeah, replaying the game with different characters that have different abilities that actually change the way the game plays out. I mean, that to me is awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah. Distracted says Gran Turismo 7 came out with hands for PSVR2 tomorrow. That's a lie, Brian. I don't know. Who cares about hands? I mean, if they patched that in, sure, I would be happy with the update. But like, if somebody was like, "Oh, we did it, we changed, we had positional hand tracking and who the fuck cares?" That's not me. Mako XL,
you would love, like I want, head movement, so that when you're racing people and you could see them moving their heads, that would be cool, right?
These are things I want from the developers. And if the developers don't do it, like, it's like, am I gonna mod my fucking game to?
No. Oh no, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah, it's like, I want the developers to give us those kind of things, but if they don't, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, somebody needs to get in there and change that. No. Mako XL with the Canadian $5 tip says, "Tip train, choo choo." Thank you very much.
Choo choo.
I hope I didn't miss any tips. I'm just scrolling back right now to make sure that we're all caught up here.
And then we can jump back to Wanderer. I don't know if there's a lot to say about Wanderer, because I mean, it was just nice hearing from the devs talking about it, and just reconfirming what we saw in the trailer. The only note I made was at the beginning, the devs go, "Let's dive in," and I felt that they missed a massive opportunity in the edit. That when they said that, it should have shown the clip of the person falling into the water with the alligator.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my early feedback on it.
I didn't see a whole lot more. They reiterated a lot of things that we had obviously heard before. That there's going to be new areas, and all the new animations and new. Seeing
the comparisons, the comparison stuff they showed was cool. Just having the thing come across, that was amazing. And as we were touching on earlier, just hearing the enthusiasm, their love for this. I mean, you could always feel that in the games, but that was just amazing to see as well. I cannot wait to play this game.
Indie Soul says, "Don't play Bethesda games if you don't like mods." No worries. They are no longer a concern of mine. Also, yeah, that's another thing. Fucking love Fallout 4 and love Skyrim, Fallout 3, New Vegas. I mean, love those games. Again, after I spent 400 hours with those games, did not need to go back to them with mods. It's like, yep, love them as is. Janky as they were. Dude, the potential that Wanderer has to be like the biggest, like one of the biggest or best games of the generation. I mean, I hope we're not saying this like a couple years from now. I hope we're actually saying, "Oh, look at all these amazing games that have come out of this quality." But talk about a game that was built from the ground up for VR. This is one of those a few games that really is. It's cool that that's the case with this, because this kind of has the feel of a game that is so much more than it is. That was released on a flat screen, some kind of AAA studio, and then they were like, "Let's make a VR mod." None of that's true. But it has that feel. And so I respect this team so much for saying, we created this amazing game. We know that people loved it. Probably didn't get the exposure it deserved. And now we're doubling down on it and going back in and giving it these VRAF controls and movements, and just making it feels like a director's cut, but it's so much above and beyond a director's cut. I think that this is going to be something very, very special. A lot of respect for this team for doing that.
Agreed.
So many teams, like we were just talking about Endreams, and the changes we would love to make to Synapse, or changes we would love to make for Fract. But those games came out. They said, "We hear your complaints. Thank you." But then what did they do? They didn't change the game or go back and spend 2 years, updating it so it was everything that we wanted it to be. That's what these guys did, and we had very few complaints to begin with.
Right.
I want to know with the story here. I want to know how this happened. Did they make enough money on this to warrant 2 more years of development? Or did Sony say, we believe in this project, like, because it was partially funded by Sony to begin with? We believe in this so much that this is something we think could really exemplify what PSVR2 is about, what VR should be about, and here's some more money. I'd like to know the story behind this, because I think there's more here than meets the eye. Who believed in this game that much to allow this kind of fantasy story to happen?
Agreed. And I don't know about you, GameCats, but I want Brian to organise this dev interview for the channel and find this out, because I would love to see you have a conversation with them about it.
Yeah, these guys were great too. They came on GamesCast live.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. They were pretty transparent.
Awesome.
Here's the thing. I don't want the show to go on forever, Myles. Again, the Perp Showcase was 17 minutes long or 18 minutes long. There were other games announced. Happy Funland to me looks like what I want Rush of Blood 2 to be, or what I wanted Rush of Blood 2 to be. Get off the roller coaster and explore it's the park VR. It's kind of what it seems like.
Right.
The park VR was the park was fun. I always wanted a VR version of that. So there are other games that were shown, and I think there's a lot of exciting things happening on the Perp side of things. But is there anything else that you want to talk about before we?
Just that Halloween's going to be, assuming that a lot of these, it just feels like a lot of these are positioning themselves for Halloween. Halloween is going to be a horrific time for me. I love Halloween, but this is not going to be fun for me. But I know it's going to be lots of fun for the Game Cats, so good on you.
I mean, Halloween's my favorite time of year, and this is just going to make it that much better.
It is normally for me, but the amount of horror games on PSVR2 is incredible. And Madison is the one.
Oh, yeah, Madison. The last, I would say, the last couple of years, Myles, were disappointing for the channel, at least. Everybody, a lot of the cats love Halloween as much as I do. They know how much I love Halloween, and it's such a perfect time to release a horror game, a horror VR game, and we kind of got nothing. The last 2 years of PSVR 1 were horribly disappointing, especially for horror. And with all these games scheduled to launch soon and around Halloween, I'm excited. It's going to be great.
The one horror game-esque game I've always wanted to get a VR port, and I think it'd be perfect for VR, is Dead by Daylight. And as a game that they are constantly adding to, like they keep on adding characters. Wasn't like Nicolas Cage just announced for it?
Yeah.
Was that a different game? Yeah. Like, and they get all the IPs. I think Jason was the only character they didn't add because Jason had his own game.
Right. Which the rights just expired to, I think.
Oh, right.
And so
interesting.
So maybe there's a possibility he will come to Dead by Daylight.
Right. So for me, it's just like, have you played Dead by Daylight?
No, I've watched people play. I know that Mr. Sonic, one of our mods, played it quite a bit in our voice chat. I've watched a lot of it. I have a good feeling for how the game plays. Doesn't excite me like this asymmetrical, 1v4 or whatever it is. Just
right. But would it excite you in VR though, or not? You know,
that's a conversation that's come up very frequently, and my answer is yes. But I feel like only temporarily. I feel like that style of game just doesn't interest me that much. So I would play it and be like, "Yep, I had fun," but I don't feel like going back to it very often. It's not my kind of thing.
It was a game that I didn't think I was going to love, and I did for the period that I did. It's one of those games that if I got back into it, I'd play it lots again. But the idea that you're fixing these generators and like in VR, you'd be looking over your head as you're doing it is just amazing. Like it'd be just incredible. It's a property I'm very surprised hasn't had a VR port because of how much they keep updating it. But yeah.
Would be cool, especially for everyone. I mean, because obviously there's a huge fan base surrounding that,
Yeah, that's true.
And anything with that big of a fan base, it can help move the needle a little bit more when it comes to VR. It's like bring those people over. Be good stuff. Myles, I think it's time for 20 questions.
Okie dokie. Let's do this, Brian.
Myles is the host this week. He's got a PSVR or PSVR2 game in his head. I'm going to find my notebook. Here it is. And you guys in the chat need some help. We got 20 yes or no questions to figure out what game Myles is thinking of. I'm going to put 6 minutes up on the clock up on the counter, the way that Jeremy likes it. Ready?
Okay.
On your mark.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I don't think so. Get Des. Go. Okay, I mean, easy. Let's start with an easy one.
Yeah.
Did this game come to PlayStation VR2?
Yes, it did.
Was this game also on PlayStation VR1? We need better questions.
No.
Oh, PSVR2 only. Okay.
I feel like we should just do 19 questions in future, and we just assume the first one's always going to be. Yeah.
Okay, so PSVR2 only. Oh, come on. Did this developer make... This pen just died. I can't do this from memory. Did this developer make other PSVR 1 or 2 games?
Oh, Jesus Christ, Brian, it's always this question.
And I'm going to ask it, so why aren't you prepared?
Yeah, you're right. But I did actually just come up with a game now.
Right.
Yes, they did.
Oh, okay. Were the other games they made on PSVR? No, I'm not going to ask that question. I don't think any developers made 2 PSVR 2 games yet. So we're going to assume that they made PSVR 1 and PSVR 2 games. Is this game first person?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is it a shooty game? Is that the primary thing you're doing?
No.
No.
That's 5.
Same question. Puzzles. Is it mostly puzzles?
No.
We're going in the chat quite a bit here. Could this be classified even vaguely under the category of sports? And I do put driving in sports.
No, not even vaguely. No.
Okay. Looper's wondering if it's got a horror theme to it.
No.
Okay.
That's 8.
Looper's also wondering if it's a roguelite.
No.
Okay. Okay.
9.
Does it have a cartoony art style?
Oh yeah, it does, and that brings us to 10.
Okay. PSVR 2 game. Did not come out on PSVR 1. It's got a cartoony art style. It's not mostly shooting, so it can't be Cactus Cowboy. It's not mostly puzzles, so it can't be tentacular. We've eliminated 2 very strange ones. Cartoony art style. Are you on a farm in this game by any chance?
That's a good question, Brian. Yeah, you could say you're on a farm. You're on a farm.
God. I'm not going to waste any time. Is this across the valley?
It is across the valley, Brian. And for bonus points, what is the other game that these developers have created that was on PSVR? I didn't know.
It was called Conrad the Kitten at first, and then eventually it got changed to Conrad's Kittens when they updated it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They changed it.
And we say
even the trailer
they.
says that still.
And we say they, but Fusion Play, the developer, is one person. This is his name, and his name is Conrad. See, I knew a lot of shit that you didn't know I knew.
No, that's amazing. I mean, I'm looking at their trailer now, and it still says Conrad the Kitten, even though the thumbnail is Conrad's Kittens.
The legacy is there. Dan Kiefer says, "Is this a sequel to Zombieverse?" Zombieverse.
Looper was first to get it though, and I feel like when Looper said it, that was when you went for the farm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it was and you're pretty transparent about this stuff. Whatever the most recent game you've played is, it tends to be.
Well, well, to be fair, I do look through my entire list of every single PSVR 2 game, so it's not always that. But I was worried about you asking the question, did we talk about it today? And then I would have been like, yeah.
Yeah, my memory's trash. Just because we talked about it today doesn't mean I remember that we talked about it today.
Yeah. Well, it's always tricky when it's one that we've mentioned in a throwaway sentence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh yes, but I know that's gonna throw you off.
Love it, dude. Across the valley, man. I want this game to get 1,000 updates. I do.
Yeah, I'd love them to keep adding to it.
Yeah, like my every
tracks of DLC.
When I was, I don't know if they fixed this when you click turn around. It feels like you end up in a wall frequently.
I don't click turn. Yeah, so
Okay, so you just move around, and honestly, like obviously, I want there to be a massive carrot dangling at the end of the stick, not just I'm going to build more farmland so that I can build more crops, so that I can get more animals, and so that my workload just increases. I want at a certain point there to be automation, machines that automate this stuff, that automatically water your crops, that automatically plow your crops. That's not the word I'm thinking. I don't know words. I don't know farms.
plow.
Yeah,
You plow.
But I want that to be this massive carrot dangling at the end of the stick, where it's like I've got to work towards this. Yes, it's going to be a lot of work between now and then, but at least there's like these little things that reward you for spending hours and hours and hours doing it. And that's my major problem with Across the Valley, is that it's really fun until you realize the better I get at this game, it's the Star Tenders problem. The more work it requires of me, and that's not rewarding.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with it. The only issues I've had is there's been a lot of clipping where I pick up the hoe or the shovel and it clips into the. Yeah, it was a subtle dig.
Yeah,
with the shovel.
Yeah,
but what else was the other thing I was thinking about with the game? Yeah, I mean the trajectory would be nice to have more to do. But I tell you what, the thing I do like, as frustrating it is when you're sowing the seeds, it's working out the seeds, like how much you have to cover to get the maximum like yield. Because sometimes you do it and you go, you're only giving me 3 out of 10. What? I put it everywhere, and it's because they have to be linked up. And so there is actually a skill. The sowing is an example of like where there's a real skill to it. Watering, you get the hang of. Hoeing, I think there's a lot of it can be a bit glitchy. But it's
in the trailers they made it look like you should hoe in like one long big line. And instead I'm just kind of tapping it near each of the weeds. And I do it very quickly.
Well, maybe I know for some where there's a lot more weeds, or maybe I'm wrong. You can't do that way because the whole point is if you do long lines, it uses up less energy than if you do it like because you have an energy bar on your hoe, and if you do it individually, it uses big chunks. Whereas if you do long ones.
I never ran out of energy. I don't.
Oh, there you go.
I to the point where like I can't remember there being an energy bar. I'm sure it was there, and I probably
what was the last crop you unlocked? Because I assume you didn't get. I don't know if there is an end, but like I've just unlocked onions.
I had onions, yeah,
and cucumbers. I think are the last two I've got. Onions and cucumbers.
I don't know, man. I have to go back and look at my footage. Like I'm just drawing a complete blank. Like, and again, yeah. I got jaded too early on. I spent 6 hours with this game, and then I was like, I don't think I can spend another 6 hours. Not with the way it's going. So
I'm only enjoying it because I dive in here and there. I'm just like, it might be that I'm waiting for a friend to jump on a game of Survive or something like that, and I'm like, what can I do now? I'm just going to do another day at the farm, and it's like it's really pleasant like that. Although actually, one thing I mentioned Survive, I've just started doing the trials on it. Trial 2 is one of the most amazing VR experiences I've had yet, and that is the one where it's where you, because I thought they were all going to be just wave, and they are in some ways, but the second one is where you have to get to the end of the path, and then you have to work your way back slowly and close the gates to break time, and then you're waiting for the helicopter to land. And in VR, I literally thought it was going to be that on the radio they go, "Oh, I'm landing the helicopter," and then it would spawn. No, it flies in. It lands, you have to get on the back of it and close the door. And the first time me and my mate did it, the zombies all got in and we couldn't close the door, and we were just absolutely like packed in a chopper full of zombies. And then when it does take off, it physically takes off. Like, it's just another example of that game of like, there's some real VRAF moments in that game. And so having played the full campaign, enjoyed, to some extent the survivor mode, to then do the trials and think it's going to be some kind of afterthought. No, it's really innovative, and it just makes me think I want this dev or these devs to get given a load more budget and to see what they can make next, because they have the creativity and to make some pretty incredible games.
Survive is absolutely a game that I want to. I don't even want them to move on from Survive yet. Just keep patching the fuck out of this. Keep polishing it, because I played the first wave of the time trials, and I was like, okay, this is a horde mode. Cool. And I
Yes.
beat that. And then I get to the second one and it seemed like it was going to be the same. And I was like, okay, listen, I've already spent 20 plus hours with this game. I got to review it. And so I didn't play the second.
Right.
But now I'm like, right. I know. Now I'm like, damn, it sounds like I should have played it.
I'm excited to play the third one now because I haven't touched it. But like, I was like, wow, that second one was not. Yeah. Oh, dude, play the second. Even what I've said now, it won't spoil it. It is amazing. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, we got to get out of here. But thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Myles, doing a bunch more live streams this weekend. So make sure you go hang out and subscribe on youtube.com/Myles. I can't wait to see how you handle Dyschronia. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, thank you to everybody who helps this channel run. Our friends, Jamie, who gets stuff on podcast services of your choice. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who diligently does all the timestamps. Now that he's back from vacation, that is, for each and every single episode. Thank you, guys. We appreciate all the help. All my moderators who make my life so much better and so much easier each and every day. Everybody who supports the channel financially here, for being a member. And over on patreon.com/withoutparole really, really helps. It keeps the lights on, keeps the channel running. You guys don't know how important that is. It's I thank you so much for it. But thanks to everybody else who comes in, hangs out, helps during 20 questions, shoots the shit during the show, tips during the show. And of course, everybody who sits back and says not a goddamn word. We know you're out there and we love you just as much. And remember, it's not how long it is. It's how long it feels.
Remember that. That's a tattoo right there.
Happy Friday, Myles.
Happy Friday, Brian. Happy Friday, Game Cats. See you next time.
Okie dokie. Dude, I don't think we've done a clip of the week for a while.
I can't wait to show this one. This one is so good. Let's just get straight to it.
All right, this comes to us from Mad Vegan. Let's check this shit out. Dude, that is classic. That is classic. The suspense after he throws the bomb with the timer on it, right? He's just kind of going through his inventory, going through. It's like okay, I think I know where this is going, and there's just no way, man. There's no way. I didn't see that coming at all.
I actually watched earlier today a Mr. Beast video, his latest one, where he does a load with dynamite. And so when I saw that, I was like, we need a VR version of Mr. Beast. You just need to... I want to know how much more dynamite you could pack in that room. Like, first person to get enough dynamite to crash the game. Let's do this. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. The way the frame rate just stutters is amazing.
It's like, what was there 3 explosions?
Yeah.
It's just like it just kept going. But no, the build up for me was my favorite part. It's just like everything's gonna be fine. No, it's not.
Yeah, if anyone has any clips on any games, do just head on, join the Discord, and add it. And it's just the channel's under like what section? It's obviously it's clip of the week.
It's get featured on GAMESCAST, where you can submit your viewer takeover questions or your clips of the week, and that's the best way to get on GAMESCAST. Absolutely free. A lot of people leave tips. And they pay to have their comments read on the show. It's wonderful. We appreciate you for that. But also, viewer takeover questions are things that we can think about ahead of time and implement into the show. As you saw last Friday, Izzard, the Game Cat, submitted a question that we basically talked about for the entire show, creating our dream PSVR2 game with our dream team of developers.
That was a week ago?
That was an entire week ago. And it was like the last show we did, too, because I had to cancel Monday and Tuesday show. Thank you, Rody, in the chat for providing the Discord link. We love you all so very much. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you, hopefully, on Discord.
Yeah, keep beavering away.
VR. Beaver.